Hello and welcome to another small game Let's Play. I'm doing this one basically as part of a series for a bundle that will be live at the time of posting. The bundle is the Gender Constellation Bundle for 2024. The link to purchase it on itch.io will be in the description of this video. Full disclosure, I do have a couple games in the bundle itself, but this one I'm about to play is not one of mine because I felt weird about just Let's Playing something I'd made regardless. Please do check out the bundle, support the devs, not just me. Whether you purchase it or comment, rate it, review it, anything to spread it, share it, helps a lot for just even the visibility of these games that they're not easy for people to find, even if they would enjoy them. But with all that preamble, let's get started with this game. This is the Wolf of Derevnya. I don't know if I'm stressing the right syllables when I pronounce that. And I love this title screen already. I love anytime very physical art is used in games. You can so clearly see where this came from. Paper, or paper-like substance at least. Alright, let's dive right in. Chapter 1. In from the Cold. Movement in the corner of your eye, a flash of grizzled grey half concealed by the thorny underbrush. You look up from the path. Nothing. It might have been the wind, might have been a startled pheasant, but you've learned to trust your instincts, and the prickling at the back of your neck says, wolf. You can follow the beast into the woods, examine the path, head down the path to the west, or up the path to the east. Oh, the menu here is really good. I like the journal. It feels like those old books that weren't just choose your adventure but had stats and stuff. I know at least one brand of them was called Fighting Fantasy, I'm pretty sure. But there was a few where it's you'd have health and inventory. It's kind of an RPG on paper. Alright. I kind of want to follow the beast into the woods. Your hand on the hilt of your sword, you slip into the bushes, your bast shoes noiseless on the moss. You reach the clearing where you spotted movement. Nothing. Not so much as a squirrel. Okay, well, I'm going to examine the clearing. I'm not just turning back. You kneel and look over the leaf litter with the eye of a long experience. Not a footprint, not a tuft of fur. But wait, here on this alder sapling, some snapped twigs. Something has been this way, that way. I'm gonna follow that trail. You creep through the forest, alert for any hint of a beast on the prowl. Perhaps this is why you don't see the patch of leaves placed artfully on the ground. Perhaps you simply aren't accustomed to looking for the work of human hands. You jump back as the trap springs. It doesn't catch your foot, but its jaws snap onto the side of your calf, biting deep through the skins you wear. Pain spangles your vision with spots of light. You stagger to one knee and grab your leg, your hands immediately slick with blood. I gotta examine the wound. Especially if it's a human trap. Who knows if they've got poisoned it with shit. You gingerly pull away the torn edges of your clothes. The trap has sliced through muscle and tendon. You glimpse a hint of white beneath another gush of blood. Okay, well that needs to be bandaged. You root through your rucksack for some old strips of cloth, the long faded last remnants of your bogatir's tunic. Again, I didn't know if I pronounced that right. You wrap them neatly, tourniquet tight around your leg, and press down with both hands, biting your lip. The cloth is instantly saturated, and the bleeding shows no signs of slowing. There's nothing for it. You're going to need real medical attention. Yeah, head to the village. You're not sure how you wished to re-enter society, but it wasn't like this. Staggering against the trees for support, a trail of bloody footprints marking your path. The village looms ahead, the church's onion dome rising above the Izba's carved ridgepoles. You can hear low voices, see a couple of people in the village square drawing water from the well. They haven't caught sight of you yet. When people look at you, they usually assume you are... oh, a man, a woman. I'm gonna say they're not sure. People have always been unsure what to make of you. Even when you are a famed bogatir, how they will react to this grizzled creature dressed in skins, well, you'll soon find out. The illustrations are good for being like loose but evocative. You gear yourself up for the looks, the questions. Stride in boldly. It's difficult to look confident when you're staggering to keep weight off your lacerated leg, drawing closer to swooning with every step. But you do your best. You'll not show weakness before these people. Chin up, meet their eyes. You try to remember the labyrinth of rules that people use among themselves. You feel as out of place among these villagers as you would before Knyaz and all his retinue. The people by the well pause, the woman setting down her bucket. You feel their gaze traversing your layers of furs, your long, tangled hair. Silence settles over the village. Faces appear in doorways. No one speaks. Challenge them is slightly more intense than I'm going for, so I'm going to greet them. God be with you, you say, your voice hoarse with long disuse. The man by the well smirks and looks you over. He certainly hasn't been with you. Broda, says the woman. She's more of a girl, really. I think it's the same person talking. Tasted this one on the wind, I did, like rockfall. She nods at your bloody leg. Your flesh bit. You need help? No, I'm going to say yes. Yes, you ask. Does this village have a doctor? No doctor here, says the man. But the young woman, she's more of a girl really, adds, but Milla speaks the plant talk, tastes the death heat on you, has it out like that. Come on, Broda, be a pillar. The man's nose wrinkles as though your smell offends him, which it probably does, but he slings your arm over his shoulder. The two of them help you to a building with red gables and a lantern hanging over the door. Womb-like warmth and dimness swallow you. Bundles of herbs hang from their roof beams and a masonry stove dominates the wall. The air is close with the lingering smell of bodies. A woman in an apron is bent over the stove. Honestly, Branislav, it's not even noon, she says before she turns and sees you. She's middle-aged with a kind but careworn face, dark blonde hair slipping out from under her cap. Oh! The man and young woman help you onto a rough-hewn wooden bench. Your vision swims through hazy darkness as all your weakness catches up to you at once. The woman in the apron sizes up the situation at a glance. She shoos the other two out of the inn. Well, go on. You'll only be in the way. She peels away the dirty furs and bandages crusted to your leg with dried blood and clicks her tongue at the sight of the ragged wound. What happened? I'm gonna say a trap. I don't see a need to hide. A trap. Stupid of me. I should have seen it. The woman sighs and shakes her head. That's Branislav. I'm always telling him that he sets up his traps too close to the village. You're lucky it isn't worse. No broken bones at least. But it'll need stitches. As she goes to fetch a needle and thread, she says, I'm Mila, by the way. Do you have a name? And then what name do you give? Sasha, Dragomir, Yekaterina, or it doesn't matter. I like Yekaterina. I'm also curious. I imagine that gets shortened, but maybe we'll just say it a bunch. Well, Yekaterina, I imagine this will be nothing compared to the things you've been through, but some liquid fortitude still won't go amiss. She pours you a wooden cup of medavuka. It's sweet and cloying on your tongue, the taste of the eve of battle. Groggy and half-conscious from lost blood, you hardly feel as Mila stitches you up and wraps your leg with poultices. When she's finished, she helps you onto the top of the stove, which is covered in rugs and warm as a horse's flank. You vaguely feel her unbuckling something from your side. Your sword. Let her take. She's not taking it for nefarious purposes. She takes your sword. For the first time in years, you are defenseless. You curl up in the pile of rugs and fall asleep, as weak as a child. You awaken to the rich aroma of stewing meat. Mila is at the table below, mincing herbs and humming to herself. Mila looks up. You must be famished. It'll take you a few days to recover your strength. Yeah. Can't pay her. I'm probably gonna do work for her, is my assumption. I can't pay you. I have nothing. Well, you saw. She laughs shortly. And I'd spend it on what? A pilgrimage to Novgorod to buy gilded icons? She waves at her surroundings. All of us have nothing. Save Lord Godamir, of course. I mean, she helped to be nice. I don't feel that bears questioning. You climb down from the stove. Mila is ladling the stew into wooden bowls. A shaggy grey tabby sits in front of the stove. Oh, petting the cat. Absolutely. You stroke the cat's back. He blinks at you. His name is Com, says Mila. He's utterly useless. Well, does he catch mice at least, actually? I was going to say he's a cat. But he theoretically could be a hunter. Does he catch mice at least? Not a one. I will once again pet Com. You scratch Com's ears. He sneezes. I'll be polite and talk to the person, I suppose. What village is this? It's called Derevnya, says Mila. I don't imagine you've heard of it. Nothing happens here. Well, nothing to talk about. Pet Com. You tickle Com's chin. He yawns. How much can I go? You stroke Com's back. He ignores you. If you're making any headway at befriending him, you're not sensing it. You tickle Com's chin. He flicks his ear. You scratch Com's ears. He twitches his tail. I feel like I actually might be annoying the cat if I keep going, so I will stop. You take a seat at the table and accept the bowl she offers you. The broth is thick and brown, and steam rises off it. It scalds your tongue, but you still drink it like a starving animal, ignoring the spoon. Salt and herbs. You can't remember the last time someone cooked for you. Mila sits opposite you. You now realize she isn't as old as you thought. Not nearly. Looking past her work-roughened hands, she can't be more than 30. Those eyes, though. There's something in those distant eyes, like she's seen empires rise and fall. So where are you from? Asks Mila. Gonna split the difference and say north. North. That's not very descriptive. No, it's not. You lapse into silence. She says, You've been out here on your own all this time? I am now, but I wasn't always. I am now, but I wasn't always. I used to travel with... younger sister seems fun. My younger sister. To you, your sister was bird-bright eyes and quick hands, a laugh as effervescent as river foam. Kalinka. That wasn't her true name, but it was what I always called her. She was magic with a bow. The knyaz didn't approve, of course, but I told him he could have both of us or neither. The memories flood in unbidden. We were inseparable. We rode side by side on two great war horses, fought back to back on the Lake of Ice, saved each other's lives I don't know how many times. I thought that as long as we were together, nothing could stop us. And what happened? Now she's just getting nosy. I'm gonna say nothing in response. You lock eyes with her and drink your stew in silence. Pointed silence. Mila gives you a patient smile. After a minute or so, it sinks in that you're being ridiculous, but you're damned if you'll break the silence first. Mila says, "The fire in the stove is out. I could draw you a bath." I would take a bath. That would be lovely, actually. Mila hauls a cast iron tub out from the corner, places it inside the stove, and fills it with water. She hangs a blanket over the stove's mouth for privacy. You slip inside. It's hazy with steam and easily roomy enough for a grown person. It takes time to strip your clothes off, layer upon layer of skins and furs basted together or tied with thongs, all plastered together with old mud and sweat. You slip into the tub with a sigh. The warm water is soon cloudy and brown. Parasites float to the surface, wriggling in their death throes. You attempt to rake some of the worst snarls out of your hair with your fingers, but it's no use. They'll probably need to be cut out. You scrub yourself, trying to get the black grime out from under your nails and in the creases of your palms, but even when your skin is clean, you can't shake the feeling that something is still clinging to you, like a shadow. When you emerge, Mila isn't there. She's laid out a fresh caftan, tunic, and trousers, these even a pair of newly woven bast shoes. Put on the fresh clothes, don't be rude. The caftan is berry red with patterns of leaves embroidered around the sleeves and the lower hem. It's a little too large for you. There are faint stains under the arms. You wonder who wore it before you. You wonder if Mila made it herself, who she spent all those hours embroidering leaves for. Mila re-enters the inn a few hours later, a basket of marsh peppers on her arm. You're looking significantly more human. How are you feeling? You can be so rude to this woman who's only being nice. I'm gonna say better. Not been there long enough to be stir crazy. Better. Your color is back anyway. She presses her hand to your forehead, and no sign of fever. You are one lucky traveler. You finger the hem of the caftan. A tear has been mended, cunningly concealed with a bird in orange embroidery thread. Did you do this? You ask. It's so elaborate. Mila chuckles. Oh, that's just a little private joke. Everything is improved by adding a firebird. I figure if you need to repair something, you may as well make it look nicer than it did before. I'm gonna pry. She was prying earlier. A private joke with who? A private joke with who? No one. Someone I knew a long time ago. You say, I'm feeling a little stronger. I think I might get out and stretch my legs a little. If you walk with a staff, you ought to be alright around a little place like Derevnya, says Mila. Just don't try anything silly unless you want to swoon again. I did not swoon. I did not swoon. Mila gives you a look over the top of her nose. You were scarcely conscious when you showed up here. A few more minutes and it would have been too late for you. I'm merely saying to be prudent. You are outfitted with a sturdy oak staff, smoothed polished patches worn into it by other hands. Your sword rests by the door like a sleeping guard dog. I'm compelled to take it, even though I think it's a bad idea. You buckle on the scabbard belt, cracked and stiffened with age to the shape of your body. The sword's weight is reassuring on your hip. You step blinking into a mild September mid-afternoon. You must have slept half the day away. The village square, such as it is only a patch of well-trodden mud in the center of the cluster of izbas. A small church stands before you, its roofs, vaults, and lofty onion dome all built of the same weathered, mossy wood. Across from it stands the inn. Staring has stopped, at least. although you catch a few curious glances when the villagers think you're not looking. The man called Broda is splitting logs beside the well. I wonder if you could just leave. Seems a bad idea. I'm gonna go to check out the church. The nave of the church is rich with the scent of incense. The walls are rough planks, but the iconostasis is gilt and covered in lovingly rendered portraits of the saints. A priest sits on a bench by the door, poring over a slim codex with a cracked black leather cover. A curly grey beard falls down his chest, and he has a kindly face with crinkles around the corners of his eyes. His cassock is well worn, but tidy. He steps forward and stops you at the door with a raised hand. No weapons in the house of God, please. Oh, well, okay. I guess it makes sense I can't just set it down by the door. Yeah, this kind of just states where everyone is. I guess I'll talk to the guy. He sets down his axe and pushes his hair out of his face. He's lanky and handsome in a stony way. Flinty eyes, aquiline nose, sharp chin. So you didn't die after all, he says. Sorry to disappoint. It makes no difference to me. He splits another log and throws the pieces on the pile. Have I done something to anger you? Nothing you do could matter to me one way or the other. He brings the axe down again. This conversation is getting you nowhere. The church stands before me. Christmas says the end. Broda is still splitting logs. He ignores you. I'm gonna go to the village entrance, but I'm not planning to leave. Here the path meanders its way out of the village and into the trees, which crowd it with their shaggy branches. On the north side, the land slopes down toward the weed-choked pond. To the south, the oaks and beeches melt into a stand of birch trees, which gives way to meadow. I'm gonna check the pond, and that's as far as I want to go. The pond water is dark and flat as glass. A couple of turtles blink at you disinterestedly. Search the area, I guess? You poke through the weeds around the pond, causing the turtles to vanish under the water. You notice a hint of a trail, not very well worn, leading up into the stony land north of the village. Perhaps no more than a deer path, but I don't yet have a reason to drift when I am recovering, so I'll just file it away for later. You prod the water with your staff. Half-decomposed leaves swirl around, releasing a foul-smelling bubble. Your staff meets something hard. You pull it out of the water. It's the skull of some small predator. A wildcat, maybe. Whatever it was, it met a hard fate. The entire back of the skull is crushed. Okay, well, I'm gonna take this to ask people about it. You wipe the grime off the skull. You wipe the grime off the skull on a patch of moss and slip it into your pocket. Ooh, the manor. Painfully, you make your way up the hill to the manor, grateful for your staff. The manor crowns the top of the hill. Its eaves and casements are carved into intricate scrollwork and painted with red and green flowers. A small stable hides behind the main building. Below you, the dozen Isbas of Derevnya huddle together like a flock of sheep to the south of the pond. I'll visit the stable. The stable is little more than a log lean-to against the back of the building, housing a couple of shaggy cart ponies. A black mare is loose in the pasture beyond, peacefully cropping daisies. Examine the mare. She's not one of the great destriers of Kniaz's retinue, but a sturdy, small beast with feathering, made for harsh winters and rocky paths. You'd wager she's a Polovtsi horse. Try approach. You uproot a handful of wild carrots, your own horse's favorite, and approach her slowly, murmuring quiet reassurances. The mare flares her nostrils, but perhaps she senses that you are one who knows horses and loves them, because she accepts the herbs and allows you to stroke her neck. Okay. I don't think I'm going to knock on the door of the manor, because frankly I don't think they care about me. I seem to be a kind of wandering warrior-ish person, but that's washed up in a way that means I really don't think they care. So I'm going to return to the village. Here in the hollow at the end of the village, the ground grows wet and spongy, and the isbas are green with mildew. The rugged foothills crowd close upon the village to the south, while the manor stands at the top of the hill to the north. A burly, dishevelled trapper sits slouched on a stump in front of one of the isbas, preparing a snare. Oh, I could probably be annoyed with this guy. The trapper is short and heavy-set, with a russet red beard and thick eyebrows. He wears a fur hat, and rabbit fur trims his kaftan and boots. He takes a pull from a jug of medovuka and regards you ruefully. "Look, I'm real sorry about your leg," he says. "I can pay you for your suffering. A marten pelt? 2 marten pelts?" I don't think... The video game logic compels me to take one of these. But I think the reality is I don't... The narrative reality is to not accept them. It was an accident. You don't owe me anything. His shoulders heave as he breathes out a long sigh of relief. "It's just you arriving in the town as you did with that sword and everything. I didn't know what kind of person you'd turn out to be." Okay, well I want to ask about the skull, but I should be polite first. "I take it you must be Branislav." His eyes narrow. "Oh, I hope that... I'm not trying to rat her out for ratting him out." "Who ratted me out? It was Mila, wasn't it? What did she say about me?" "Now that I've started, I'm just gonna say it. She said you set your traps too close to the village. And of course, she would trunk through miles through the woods to set her traps in the safest possible place. Perhaps she'd like to do my job while I rest in a nice warm inn." Okay, I'm gonna ask about the skull. "Can you tell me anything about the skull? I think it might be a lynx." You produce the crushed skull from your pocket. He takes it in his big hand and turns it over, then shakes his head. "That's no lynx. It's a glutton, like a badger but bigger. Good pelts if you can get 'em." What could have done this to it? What could have done this to it? He frowns, running his fingers over the crushed bone. "I don't rightly know. They're cantankerous beasts. Most creatures give them space." Now I'm going to ask about predators in the woods. Have you seen any kind of predator out in the woods? Did he just tense up a little? So, I know that it's going to be a wolf based on the game, the title. I'm going to assume in character this person has some awareness. But, I don't quite know why, but I will just opt to say it. "A wolf. I thought I saw one when I was coming into the village." Okay, well, maybe I just forgot. "No wolf packs around here," he says a little too quickly. "But a single wolf? Perhaps, or..." He wets his lips nervously. "I had the sense that something was prowling around. I never got a proper look at it, but by its traces it must have been huge. And the way it was stalking around the village, lying in wait. It wasn't natural for a beast. And that's what you set out to trap. The villagers would have laughed at me if I'd told them. Said it was just old Branislav drunk out of his mind again. I needed proof." He sighs. "So much for that." I'm not gonna drink shame him, so we're done talking. You are in the hollow at the end of the village. The rugged foothills crowd close upon the village to the south, while the manor stands at the top of the hill to the north. Branislav sits slouched on a stump in front of one of the izbas, repairing a snare. Head east of the village. Yeah, okay. I'm back in the middle, so I'm going to return to the inn then. Inn. You re-enter the inn's dim closeness, calm as asleep in the still warm stove. There's no sign of Mila. I'll leave my sword. You leave your sword resting against the doorframe, though you feel weak and helpless without it. Give Calm a pet. No, he's asleep. Leave him alone. Or them. I don't actually know. And now I can go to the church. Have a chat. I saw that before. The priest has returned to his book. I want to look around before I talk. Your eyes wander over the saints on the iconostasis, their delicate brushstrokes and cracked yellow varnish. They regard you beatifically through their large brown eyes. Their gaze alienates you. They were men and women once, creatures of breath and blood, with lives and sins and failures, even as you. But looking at the icons, you cannot see it. There is nothing here but wood and paint, no one to intercede for you, no one to know your struggles or hear your prayers. When he sees you, he brightens and closes his book. "Ah, you're back. My name is Father Cyril. What can I do for you?" "Oh, confess my sins. That sounds fun. It feels like it'll backfill character. I wish to confess my sins." "And Christ is ready to hear them," says Father Cyril. He vanishes behind the iconostasis and emerges a few minutes later in his liturgical vestments. You really do want to confess, to feel that leaden pressure lifted from your chest, but when you stand before the cross, the words dry on your tongue. Father Cyril lays a hand on your shoulder. "When the time is right, the words will come," he says gently. "What does the good book have to say today?" "Oh, this?" He looks down at the book clasped in his arms. "It's not the good book, but the tale of Igor's campaign, a poem about Igor Svyatoslavich, the brave, and his great defeat at the river Kyala. Quite fascinating. Do you read?" "I never learned." "Ah, then I shall teach you." I won't be here long enough for that. "That's a pity," he says. "Perhaps you shall return someday." "I don't want communion. I want to stay here a while." "I'd just like to stay here a while, if you don't mind." "Of course, everyone is welcome in the house of God," says Father Cyril. "I'll give you a few minutes by yourself." He takes his book and goes behind the iconostasis. You are alone with God. Standing in silence, because based on examining the church earlier, I don't get the feeling this character has a lot of connection to this religion. Not personally. You abandon the attempt to feel near to God and just stand there bathed in the light of the candles. Time to leave the church. So, I think I just want to return to the inn. I scratch Calm's ears. He blinks at you. You tickle Calm's chin. He twitches his tail. You stroke Calm's back. He sneezes. Okay, well, I'll take my sword. Maybe I do need to go further. Leave the inn. I could go check out the manor. I feel like that'll be... I kind of expected that to be a dead end. But maybe they'll answer the door and a bit or something will happen. Maybe it's also designed that the character has to overextend and pass out, and that's how the day ends. Because I'm assuming, not that there's a day-night cycle, but I'm assuming structurally we're going to hit an end of the day point. The heavy oak door creaks open. A serf woman in a yellow kerchief dips into a little bow. You want to see Lord Godamir? I'll show you in. The parley's walls are hung with thick felt rugs in patterns of contrasting brown and white. Lord Godamir is sitting by the fire, drinking kvass. He's a man of 50, his dark beard streaked with grey. His hat and embroidered kaftan are trimmed with ermine fur. A scar sweeps across his cheek and forehead, narrowly missing his eye. You must be the bogatyr everyone's talking about, he says. Ekaterina, isn't it? You nod. He waves you to a chair on the other side of the fire. You sit and lay your staff against the wall. He offers you a glass. Kvass? I'll take it. Yes, please. The fermented rye, flavored with raisins, is sour and cold, the flavor of the last vanishing days of summer. He takes a sip from his own glass. Now, what may I do for you? Oops, I didn't mean to click. Well, this seems like a fine response. Those are fine rugs in the walls. Not Russian, are they? Turkish, says Lord Godamir. The Polovtsi bring them to trade. That surprises you. The Polovtsi come this far north? From time to time. More these past few decades. They're fine people to trade with, when we're not at war. And which brought you these? Trade or war? The latter, I'm afraid, says Lord Godamir, and a shadow of regret crosses his face. But we've been at peace now for years. I want to ask for a horse. Just, I don't know, maybe I can just have a horse. I have need of a horse. The words tumble out of you before you even realize you plan to say them. It's an audacious thing to ask, almost insolent. Okay, I didn't realize that would be the case. Lord Godamir nods at your bandaged leg. I doubt you could ride in your condition. After, you clarify, when I'm on my way. A bogatyr is nothing without a horse. He shakes his head. It is not possible. Save for the cart ponies, I only have Dobry, and I cannot spare her. Then I'll take my leave. Gadamir's serf escorts you to the door. The manor crowns the top of the hill. Oh, yeah, this is a description. Okay, well then I'll go to the pond and I'll follow that trail. I feel like this is going to get me in trouble, but maybe I want to be in trouble. You begin your way up the stony trail, leaning heavily on your staff. It seems to grow steeper with every step. Pain bites through your injured leg, and you feel the warmth of fresh blood soaking the bandages. Ruefully, you admit defeat. Okay. Then maybe it's just that I've talked to everyone. Mila will be back. Oh, there is the meadow as well, I haven't checked, but I feel like likewise... My assumption is that this is too early for me to explore further. And I'm getting my bearings with exploring the space. Aha! The sun is getting low, warming the horizon a golden yellow, so... Return to the inn. There's no sign of Mila. Huh. Okay, well, I'll leave my sword. Okay. I'll do one last thing, because I kind of just want to see if it gives a neat bow on things, because I will probably wrap up this quite soon, because I definitely won't finish the game. I know it's at least 3 hours long, and I'm probably playing a little slow the way I'm playing, reading out everything. But if there's like a way the day ends, I kind of want to hit it if I can. I may be playing too conservatively, not the way the character would just be like, whatever. I'm going to wander into this. See, there's both a grove and a meadow. The birch trees stand straight and thin, like an army of spears. Their bone-white bark peels off in papery sheets that litter the ground. There's a little boy here, armed with a stick and engaged in a heated battle. The birch bark strips go scattering like a flock of doves beneath his blows. I'm going to examine that birch bark, which you initially took for scars in the bark turned out upon closer examination to be spidery letters in the leaves. Careless writings discarded without a thought. Interesting. I like the unusual characters. I don't know if that's based on something real. Talk to the boy. The boy lowers his stick and squints up at you. You're done talking. What's your name? Anfim, says the boy. He's all elbows and knees with a snub nose and two permanent teeth kitty corner in the front of his mouth. I'm a Bogatir. I'm winning a great battle. He whacks at another piece of birch bark. Alright, I'm not one for talking to kids. Okay, go to the meadow. A meadow, a stubborn redoubt against the encroaching trees. The wind ruffles the grass. A flock of lop-eared, mottled sheep graze placidly. The woman from the well is here, a shepherdess apparently, sitting on a rock with a crook over her arm. Oh yeah, I hadn't bumped into her. The shepherdess is pale and freckly, her long braids fastened in two loops behind her ears. Her pale eyes never seem to be looking at anything in particular. She cocks her head. Surus of wind on branches, a stranger approaches. What do you see, Rockfall? Rockfall. Why do you call me that? I want to thank you. Do you know a man by the well? That man by the well, yeah. And then have you seen some kind of beast, I guess. Why do you call me that? Rockfall. Rockfall. Why do you call me that? Why call a thing what it is? They called me Zvedstana, taste of a salamander crawling on a rock. Did they ask me? What would you call yourself? A word for a person is catching a river in your hands, she says. She nods at the sheep. They know. I wanted to thank you for helping me yesterday. Words with no sound, no smell, says Zvedstana. What are they really? Just thoughts in the air. Have you seen some kind of beast out here? You relate to her about the skull in the pond. Seen? Zvedstana doesn't see what's right in front of her face, says Zvedstana. She clasps a lamb's face between her hands and presses her forehead against its nose. But they smelled the crunch of claws on earth, head shaggy fur in the night, they told me. I will not question that part. What kind of beast? Was it a wolf? Zvedstana considers. Wolf tastes of craggy pine and hot blood. This was soot of a winter fire. I don't follow. I'm sorry. Perhaps I'm just out of practice at conversation, but I haven't understood anything you've said. She gives the sky behind you a weary look. Skin folk, always a chirp of empty fuzz between their teeth, never a moment to taste the silence. But Zvedstana, between her teeth, is the sound of hard stone and warm fur, sharp grass and bitter bark, solid things, and still you say you can't taste them. You don't find this very elucidating. You're done talking. Okay. I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go head back for the village and see if Mila's back. If I can kind of go to bed and at least finish a day. But if she's not there, it's maybe because I need to do a little bit more talking to villagers in general. And if that's the case, I'll still just wrap it up there. It's really fun. I like the kind of close setting of it, and the slow rising tension of the wolf stuff is cool. I'm very curious about how the different ways this could work, because I enjoy both the idea that the opening could have gone multiple ways, or maybe Rail grows me into getting injured no matter what. but either is fun. Mila is back. She's washing her face in a wooden basin. Her kerchief is off, her hair in a loose short braid over one shoulder. Not much in our little village to interest you, I imagine, she says. The people seem alright. That lot? Mila shakes her head. How little you know them. Before you can reply... Oh. See, I knew something would happen. Before you can reply, the door creaks and lets in a sudden burst of crimson sunset. Svetlana stands bent over in the doorway, clutching her side with one hand. Out there, she gasps. Smelled the scream on the air, rapid in a snare. A swallow darts from the cleft in the rocks. Felt the slice of teeth with my own eyes. Mila ushers her to a bench and places an arm around her. Svetlana, slow down. Please, just speak plainly. Black of rent paper, heartbeat of a dying tree, Svetlana says. She's babbling. Mila looks at you helplessly. Grabbing the snare, I swallowed it. Felt the slice of teeth with my own eyes. I think the village is under attack. I don't think she's injured, and I feel like if it was her sheep, I don't know if maybe she would have run away if it was her sheep, but I feel like maybe that's not quite the implication. I think she's saying the village is under attack. No, wrong. Svetlana shakes her head. Just, where did it happen? Whatever it was, asks Mila. Svetlana points vaguely toward the end of town. Where the trees eat the isbas. I'll fetch Lord Godamir, says Mila, already halfway out the door. Meet us there. Okay, well, I'll grab my sword. I'm not going to try to talk to her, because I obviously clearly already failed to understand her once. You set out as fast as you can with your bad leg, but by the time you reach the end of town, all the villagers are there, gathered around a form lying half concealed by a copse of trees. A couple of lanterns make firefly bright spots in the dusk. The murmur of low, anxious voices cuts through the group. Push through. You shoulder your way to the front of the group. Red. So much red that it overwhelms your vision, and it's a long moment before you can piece together the rest of the scene. Broda lies with his neck twisted back at an unnatural angle, his axe clutched in one stiff hand. His body is torn open in so many places that it seems to be more wounds than flesh. All eyes shift onto you with your great sword, the stranger in their midst whose past is soaked in blood. Lord Godamir lays a heavy gloved hand on your shoulder. I believe you, and I need to talk. In the woods beyond, at the edge of your vision, you think you see something stir. There we go. Okay, Chapter 2, An Unclean Force. I will not continue with, because that's a hefty chunk already. And I don't want to burn through all of it on a video. Ooh, I like that thumbnail. Oh, I see. I have to click save there. And that is going to do it for this video. So yes, this is the Wolf of Derevnya. I forgot the main menu. A Nightwell Games production. Design and writing by Gwen C. Katz. Art by David Bowman. Music and sound design by Anthony Ford. UI design by Maya Hanyadi. Again, apologies. Calligraphy by Jolene's Archive. On-Film's drawings by On-Film. QA by Steven Statler and Heleniathus48. Page slip sound effect. These are resource references, so I will not try to speed read them really quickly. And then visit the forge at nightwellgames.com. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this continues to play out. It's a good setup. It feels like a fun, kind of small scale in one sense thing. Like, it's very contained, tight cast. You get introduced to everybody up at the beginning, which seems like a good way to do it. And the art and music and everything, the UI design all flow together so well. So, that was the Wolf of Derevnya. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.